Hello. Welcome to the Science Business Network. My name is Richard Hudson. I'm the CEO and editor of Science Business, and we are talking here about an important aspect of EU policy, regional policy. Growth and jobs are one of the main challenges of the EU overall these days, and an important part of that is regional policy and specifically within that innovation policy. So I'm delighted to be joined here by one of the principal players in that formula, Johannes Hahn. He is the Commissioner for Regional Policy and an Austrian. So welcome, Commissioner.
Hello.
Let me just begin first off with not exactly a digression, but a topical point, and that's simply that your government has said that you will be renominated by them as a commissioner. So you'll be with the next college, and I just wondered, what do you see as some of the most urgent challenges that the EU is going to face over the next 5 years?
Indeed, I will be in the new commission, and as it is the legal principle in our country, I had also to pass a hearing in the Austrian parliament.
Yeah.
So there's a double, vote, or will be hopefully a vote also by the European Parliament. I think the main challenges are, of course, we are not still through the crisis. We have to deal with it. You see there are some little dark clouds at the sky concerning
absolutely. Some slowdown, actually.
There seems to be a slowdown there and there. So we have to deal with this. On the other hand, we are facing some very critical situations around Europe, currently Ukraine, but also southern part of the Mediterranean, Syria, Iraq. So we are facing a lot of external neighborhood problems and challenges, and this will certainly affect the new commission, and we will have to jump into it immediately.
Right, and on the economic issues, then how does regional policy, innovation, and those kind of things fit into it? Are they? Is that the most important part, or is it more like a matter of economic policy, monetary policy? What needs? Do you yourself have a prescription on what needs to be done economically?
Yeah, we have to support our member states, in particular those lagging behind, to improve their economic performance. And if you look in many regions, our member states, they have still a problem with the economic or the scope of businesses in certain areas. I mean, the industrial rate of southern European countries is only half of that in Middle or Northern Europe. So if we are talking about reindustrialization, it affects in particular the south, but if you like, all over Europe. And here innovation clearly plays an important role. And that's why we have also changed or modified our policy, regional policy, so that in the new financial perspective, the promotion of the economy is the core element of our business. And we have really on purpose declined the amount being used for infrastructure investments.
Right. To come back, you mentioned also the external relations aspect. Do these two things affect each other? I mean, how much of a risk is there that the actions that may be taken on the external sphere, for instance in Ukraine, could also have a blowback effect on the economic situation?
Yeah, different from the different member states have different trade relations with partners outside Europe. And for instance, Greece is suffering from the situation in Turkey or from situation in Egypt. They are losing markets, so they have to see how they can gain new markets. Similar situation for some sectors in the business area is, of course, the situation in Ukraine with the sanctions to Russia. So there are, or if you take the energy situation, also this is something which affects our policy, because when it comes to, for instance, build up LNG terminals, we have to use structural fund money in order to finance this kind of energy terminals.
Right, and so then, all right. So let's come back to the regional policy and innovation. How competitive do you think the regions of Europe are on innovation? How important is it? Where do you see as the strengths and the weaknesses regionally on innovation?
To be frank, we have only a few regions who are performing very well, and we have a huge majority of regions lagging behind, or where innovation is more on an amateur level.
Yeah.
And so we have to see how to improve the situation. I mean, this is a general deficiency of Europe. I think we spend a lot of money for research, even for innovation, but we are still not really capable to transfer research outcomes into business cases. And this is something we have to address in particular. When it comes to regional policy, we have started a very comprehensive program called Smart Specialization Strategy.
Right.
So we ask each of our regions to be clear about their potentials, about their opportunities, where the money primarily should be spent in order to create what we call clusters. And this is something which can and must be possible for each region.
Yeah, okay, so let's come back to that smart specialization for the moment. But there's a more fundamental question that I've got. Why do we need a regional policy for innovation anyway? I mean, the technology is global. Competition is global. Why would you want to have a policy that actually focuses on innovation in a particular place? Why not just, you spend the money across the sector?
Yeah, I think, and I'm convinced we have to address this problem on different levels. Of course, we need what we call European clusters. We have it in aerospace. We have it in some other areas where already different regions in Europe work together and have formed what we call a European cluster. But I think it's important that each European regions, and we have 274 of them, offers their people, their inhabitants, a perspective. And it's about the economic perspective of a given region. And of course, we have an interest that people have an opportunity to stay in their region and not to leave the region.
But innovation specifically, why not just build more bridges and schools and such as that? I mean, why invest in universities and labs?
It's about competitiveness.
Yeah.
It's about competitiveness, and you can only achieve competitiveness if your companies are competitive enough, innovative enough, safeguard existing jobs, but even better, create new ones. And of course, we have to create a climate, a spirit of founding new companies, because this is one of our European deficiencies. There's a lack of entrepreneurial spirit compared to other parts in the world. Here in Europe, we have still a perception that many young people believe the best is to become a civil servant, and this is something we have to change.
Heaven help us! but how can you change that? How can the Commission change that? That's a cultural issue.
Yeah, because we provide for some regions indeed a lot of money, but nowadays in the new financial perspective, we link it to the fulfillment of certain conditions. And one of these conditions is to come forward with a smart specialization strategy.
But just to put this in perspective, now overall in regional policy, it's quite a large budget that's been approved for the next 7 years, right? How much is that then?
It's altogether 325 billion on current prices.
And innovation, smart specialization and the rest, that's part of it. Right, it's something like 80 billion or something. Is that correct?
It will be even more if you take everything together. I mean, research, ICT, also support from SMEs, and it's clearly. But when we are talking about innovation, we apply the OECD definition. So it's not only to buy a new engine or something like that, or to use a new technology. It's also if you introduce a new administration system, if you develop a new marketing concept, everything which is suited to improve the performance of a company in order to be more competitive is seen as an act of innovation.
Right. And again, in perspective, this approach is new with this commission, with the past commission, right?
This is new, and it's also linked with the demand to achieve certain quantifiable results which have to be agreed with us already now. Results which have
in
to
advance, then, yeah.
Results which have to be achieved by the end of the financial perspective 2020.
Yeah, I see. But this politically, this must have been somewhat difficult to get a policy like that through, because that is a change from the past.
It was a cultural shift. Of course, it was not easy. On the other hand, in that respect, the crisis was rather helpful, because member states, regions have clearly recognized they have to do something. It's not business as usual.
Right.
So it helped us to change the mindset, and to be frank, it's difficult for a politician to disagree about results. Huh?
Right.
I mean, you have to commit yourself to results, and we used the opportunity. And I think today it is clear and it is accepted by everybody that we have to go this way.
Yeah, it is extraordinary how there seems to have been a political consensus.
And it's also important, and this is something I really would like to stress again and again.
Yeah.
We have also changed the mindset by saying it's about investment policy. It's not about charity. Yeah. I mean, charity or solidarity is expressed by the fact that 70% of our budget is allocated to the 25% less developed regions. But even in the less developed regions, we pursue the concept of investment policy and principles when using the money. Mm-hmm. And investment always means you put in more than you put in, and you expect to get out more of it. In previous times, regional policy structural funds usually gave grants. But now we will try to offer as much as possible loans.
Right.
And also
so
this
you get more leverage out of the money.
There is a leverage effect, yeah. But also I think there will be, if you like, a leverage effect in terms of the quality of projects. Because if you get the grant, okay, it's nice, and if you get it, maybe you check it once or twice if the quality of the project is given. But if you are forced to reimburse the loan alone, you will think 2, 3, 4 times if or whether the project is mature enough and good enough.
And then the lender is also looking as well. But honestly, Commissioner, though, I mean, how realistic is it to think that a smart specialization strategy like this can work in places of Europe that have never got it before? Yeah. I mean, they don't have the local expertise, do they?
We should avoid to overdo it, yeah, and I can't expect a quality in preparing and implementing everywhere the same. Yeah, but I think it's always about the internal development of something. I think, of course, if there was nothing, we have to seed, if you like, something, and then things will grow. And we have to accompany people, we have to build up administration, we have to qualify administration and also people in the academics, etc. So it's about the necessary assistance, and of course it's necessary to monitor the progress, and this will be the case. There is a compulsory monitoring system included in the whole policy. Mm-hmm. So at least once a year, each of the regions are monitored about their progress. Sometimes it's even 2 or 3 times a year. So there is a really close monitoring or observation system in place.
So if you look forward to 2020, then how will we know that this worked? Are you expecting to see 4 Silicon Valleys or something in Europe? What's the judgment of success?
I mean, this we can finally say by the end of 2020, and we have certainly during the years ahead some indications. But I think now we have built a solid structure, how things should be done, how things should be implemented, and how the accompanying monitoring system is in place.
Right.
And this, I think, this kind of framework should guarantee a reasonable outcome by the end of 2020. And I'm really sure that in particular regions in the south and in the east will catch up.
Okay. So as we mentioned earlier, you will be in the new commission, and so you'll see what's going on with this. We don't know what portfolio you have, but looking forward to the next 5 years of regional policy, what would you say are the main challenges that have to be dealt with? I mean, making the new policy work, or
another element of the new policy was and is that it's, if you like, that financial instrument of the Union to pursue European goals.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the Europe 2020 strategy. There are some very clear, quantified goals. And one has to see how we can achieve this. And if there are not financial incentives which are available to each region, we will never achieve our goals. It would be politically naive to believe that all 28 member states, 274 regions would do everything at the same time in a coherent manner.
Right.
So it's necessary, and this is human being behavior, that you need some incentives, and the structural funds offer this kind of incentives, because when we are talking about reduction of poverty, increase of R&D, improvement of innovation, qualification of people, we have to address it everywhere in Europe. We cannot only leave it to the 25% less developed regions, then we would fail. So we need to address it everywhere, and that is the reason why I was so keen to have also the structural funds, the regional policy, also in the new financial perspective, available for all the European regions. Mm-hmm. Of course, the allocation or the amount given to regions is smaller to more developed ones, but it's still sufficient enough to support, to assist the further development even of well-performing regions.
Is it sufficient enough, though? Will you be able to, do you think it's possible to mobilize more money in any way, private or public, for these goals?
Yeah, because one should not underestimate the fact that we offer a budget for basically 10 years, because member states, regions are allowed to complete projects even 3 years after the end of the financial perspective. So it's a very long time perspective where also private investors can rely on the money being available. Usually in member states we have annual budgets, in some countries we have biannual, but that's it. Mm-hmm. But here we offer a perspective over 7 years. Private investors can rely on that, can make their choices, their plans, and that's why I was always so keen, so extremely interested to adopt as quick as possible this multi-annual financial framework with all the regulations and conditions, in order to give, in particular, private investors a guarantee what is now available and what are the conditions, where the money could be used, for which purposes, etc. And that's why I'm really convinced that a lot of private investors will use this opportunity.
Okay, and that will require follow-up in the new commission by whoever's doing this job and the other ones, in the other portfolios.
I mean, I can reassure everybody, this is what I have always done in my previous professional life. Of course, I'm concentrated and focused on the new challenges, but I certainly will always have an eye what I have done in the past, because usually if you have developed something, you would like to see growing up a child.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much, Commissioner, for joining us. And thank you very much for joining us.